Oh, um, bath time. Lesson 98. Getting near the end. Solving quadratic equations by factoring. And man, you are prepared for this because we've been doing a lot of this stuff here for a while. Actually, in the book, they list all these like things that we've done. We've factored trinomials, x squared plus bx plus c. We broke them up into two things. And we're like, I know how to do this. We even changed it up. We put a number in the front. We did a little clumping and splitting factoring. You can do it. In lesson 83, we factored special products. That means that we basically took the form and we worked it backwards to an a plus b squared or an a minus b squared or the difference of two squares. And in 89, we identified characteristics of quadratic functions. In fact, a couple lessons ago, we were doing some more of that. We're going to relate these things all together, and we're going to use them for good. You can too. Right, because we've got, I don't know, what, 2 things ago, we had parabolas, and we were like, super important parts of it, like where's it cross the y-axis, and what else did we say about these darn things? We said, tell me what the vertex is, and tell me what the axis of symmetry is. And so I'm going to start with this one here. This is not drawn to scale, obviously, because I'm putting in here x squared minus 4. Either y equals x squared minus 4, or I'll write it as a function. F of x equals x squared minus 4. So if you graph that, you know it's a regular parabola, and it's just been dropped down until we get -4, right? Y-intercept plus, we've got a vertex kind of played in there, and axis of symmetry. Y-intercept, axis of symmetry, vertex, we kind of had that. Was the easy one right there. I'm just going to take this one as an example here for what we are going to do with this today. Most of the book stuff is algebra, but I just want to relate that to this, lesson 89 in the picture. We'll get to that. Okay, now, when you solve a quadratic equation, this is quadratic, so it's got the x squared in it, we're going to get a solution. Well, that's what I usually call it, but today they're going to call it finding the roots of an equation. Root is more or less interchangeable with the term solution to an equation, which is more or less synonymous with zeros, which we talked about a couple lessons ago, which is pretty much synonymous with an x-intercept. And that was kind of one in the last episode that we didn't hit, but we did back in 89, I believe. Now we care about these points here where our parabola crosses the x-axis. And the reason why it has different names is because of different contexts in which the problem is being done. We would call it a root because what we're trying to do is we're trying to solve this problem right here. X squared minus 4 equals 0. Oh, it's tea time. Root. Okay, the context is here that, well, the x-axis, which we're worried about, is actually where y equals 0. The x-axis is actually the line y equals 0. We want to know if we plug a number in here, right there for x, when is it going to make y equal 0? Because that would be on the x-axis. Solving this problem, we would go like this. Add 4 to both sides. And now what do we do to finish it off? We have to take the square root. Yeah. So if we take the square root of both sides, we'll get plus or minus 2 could have been an answer. And lo and behold, when x is 2, or when x is -2, in this particular problem, that's the place where this thing crosses the x-axis. Now, we also think of this like a solution, because if I take that answer now, let's take 2, and I plug it into the original problem, does that make that true? Does this satisfy both sides of the equations? Yes, because 4 minus 4 is 0. Solution. Or how about plugging the other one in there? Negative 2 squared is 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. It satisfies both sides of the equation. So maybe we're thinking of it in terms of, is it a solution to that problem? Well, zeros. I think you understand the context now because we're looking at when y equals 0 in this equation right here. So we would have said, let's plug a 2 in, and we say that makes y equal 0. So we would also call it a 0, or we can see on the picture that it's an X-intercept. Now, the lesson says solving quadratic equations by factoring. So I didn't factor in those examples, but now we are. Because if you remember, that type of setup there is the difference of two squares. This is x squared minus 2 squared. And the format for that, where we factored special products, was that it's x plus the second thing and x minus the second thing. You can see up here that I've added something else that we want to make it a equation. We want a solution to this equation. We don't just want to factor it. We're really good at that, right? We're really good at that. What we want to do with this is we want to solve it. That's going to involve something called the zero product property. Zero product property. Zero product property says that when you multiply two things together, what will make the answer equal 0? In this particular problem, you see that these two things are now factors rather than terms like this over here. They're factors. So if I plug in a number into here that makes this part of it 0, 0 times anything equals 0. Or if I plug in a value in right here that makes it equal 0, or sorry, that makes this term equal 0, 0 times anything equals 0. The zero product property just says 0 times something, let's call it x, is still equal to 0. Or how about x times 0 is still 0. Officially, if the product of two quantities equals 0, at least one of the quantities equals 0. Let me demonstrate with this right here. We found out that the answers to that equation was either plus 2 or minus 2. If we take this right here and we plug in a plus 2 for x, we will get 0 and 4. Is 0 times 4 0? Yes, it is. Now there was two solutions. We might plug in negative 2 into that equation. And that gives us negative 4 times 0. Is negative 4 times 0 0? Yes. Yes, it is. And so you see what we did there. We're looking for the values that would make either of these equal to 0 because both of those products equal 0. So we back up here again. And if we can factor out x squared minus 4 into two pieces like this, we then split this up into two like mini problems. We're looking for the solutions, or the zeros here. We're looking for the value of x that makes either of these situations equal to 0, because once I plug it in, I'll get those two things that I just had. And I'll get 0 as the product, because I'm multiplying here. So we can see that this leads to x is 2, or x is negative 2, and that coincides with the factoring that we did, the zeros that we got, with the roots, with the picture, X-intercepts, all that business. So we'll go through maybe 2 or 3 of these things here, and we'll use some factoring that we've done before and then add this extra little piece onto it. So let me clear the board, and we'll do that. Okay, I'm going to be going fast, so yeah, you might want to watch little bits over again. Now, 2 lessons ago, we talked about that we could have a situation where our x squared plus 4 or our x squared or x squared minus 4 is going to determine the number of zeros or x-intercepts that we're going to have. So we may get 0 solutions to a problem, okay? if you tried to solve x squared plus 4 this way, you're not going to get any answers that are real number answers. This might be x squared equals 0. Yeah, 0 works. And then here would be like an x squared minus 4 equals 0. You'll get 1, 2. So you've got either 0, 1, or 2 solutions possible. And you have to pay attention to that. Those things might happen. So sometimes you get one answer. And sometimes you get 2. And they probably, most of the time, they don't put any questions yet where there are no answers that make sense with the problem. Nevertheless, there you go. You might have these possibilities where you only get one answer, you get like the same answer twice. Right. Here we go. Carry on, Jeeves. Can I factor this? Well, this problem actually should have it equals 0 because we're trying to solve the equation. So this one is factorable. Yes, it is. You get an x plus 5 and an x minus 4. At this point, we're going to use the zero product property, and we want to think what numbers would go there or there that would make the product equal 0. So I'm going to split it up into two little problems. And if either of those equals 0, then the product is 0. So x is -5 or x is a positive 4. Those are our answers. We can write it like that, or we can draw them in brackets. Either order 4, -5, 5, -4. It's just listing out the answers. Check. That's done. This one needs to be arranged a little bit first. X squared plus 2x minus 8. If I subtract 8 from both sides, I'm left with 0 on this side. This is what we're looking for. I'm looking for the equations, or I'm sorry, I'm looking for the solutions by factoring. Can I factor this? Well, yes, I can. We get a plus 4 and a minus 2 equals 0. So I'm going to split that up into two parts now, because the solution to x plus 4 equals 0 will make the product 0, and the solution to x minus 2 equals 0 will make the product equal 0. So I get that x is -4 or x is positive 2. I can write that as 2 and -4 as my solutions. Check. Stop. Clear the board. Wait. There you go. This needs a little bit of rearranging as well. Let's go 7x squared minus 19x minus 6. That leaves nothing over on this side. This is a clump and splitting type of question. We're looking at 7 times -6 is -42. I want to find the factors of -42 that are going to sum up to -19. And lo and behold, I can have -21 and a positive 2. So I split it. I'm going to put the -21x first. I'm going to put the plus 2x second. Minus 6 equals 0. Factor the front half. X minus 3. Factor the back half. X minus 3. This means 7x plus 2 times x minus 3 equals 0. How are we doing on time? We're going to split that up into two separate pieces. To 2. Either 7x plus 2 equals 0, or x minus 3 could equal 0. Either solution will make this product equal 0. So if I do this one, I'll have 7x equals -2, and finish off by dividing by 7. X could be -2/7, or if I do this one, I add 3 to both sides. X could equal 3. Those are my two solutions to the problem. Check. And our last one, I'm going to move everything over here and do this kind of like weirdo-like. I'm going to add 7 or 2x squared, and then I have my -2x. And if I subtract 20 from both sides, I'll get plus 50. That's okay. I can do it on that side if I want to. This is a split and clump as well. I'll get, when I factor, I can factor a 2 out of everything and be left with. That helps me out a little bit. And then this piece ends up like this. That's what you're going to have to bring to class to check. Everything can divide by 2. 0 is divisible by 2.
So bring me the answer when you come to class. Bye.